lockdown sessions. We also call them the we call them really life in isolation series, and it's really about just as we are in isolation. It's really about starting to look at the various things that can. If everyone would be so kind as to just go on mute, please, we'd really appreciate it. And if you have anything to say, just we have a few buttons. You can raise your hand or type in the chat box, and we'll be sure to unmute your mic so that you can contribute. I'll go. So just to come back to it, this is a third in our series of Life in Isolation series, where we cover key topics that we believe are crucial to us in this time. We've covered some really, really good topics in the last 2 weeks. And 2 weeks ago, we covered anger. Anger is a genuine and real emotion. And we shared some ideas around how to manage anger, and if it's quite serious, where to go for help. And we covered some tips like going for a walk sometimes. But in all of it, it's about staying close to God, understanding what the Bible says about anger, but also taking practical steps. The week after that, we talked about money. Money is, money answers all things, and money is after all what we need to survive. It's a tangible thing we use to survive in this world we live in. But in these times where people are losing jobs, if you're on furlough, the government is already talking about maybe at some point cutting it down to 80%. For some of us, jobs are at risk, and for some others, there is a threat of risk. So you really need to watch your money. You need to take the right steps to make your money last longer. And even if God has been good and faithful, as he always is, and your finances are not under threat, the fact that you're not traveling, some of us, or the fact that we're at home may mean that we have a bit of extra money. And then the question is, how do you make that money last? How do you save? What do you invest? But it's making us more money conscious in this COVID and related time. So life in isolation has been like that.
What are you supposed to do now?
So those 2 points quite very nicely tie into the third point. And we will be talking about becoming indispensable. And when we say indispensable, we are largely talking about in the space of our career and our business and the things we do for sustenance, to survive, our vocation, as it were. Now, before I go on, I would really very much like this to be if I may, I'll run through very quickly my part, but I'm really hoping we are all professionals, we're all experts, we all have some real life experience, we all have knowledge. So I won't pretend for a second to have a monopoly on knowledge. So I'm quite looking forward to really moving through this, what I want to share very quickly. And then if you can, type something in the chat box and I'll just read it back to others, or raise your hand and you can share some words of encouragement or something you've learned or something that works for you. And then we can all share it with each other. The whole point of life in isolation is we're all in isolation, but yet we are a family. We can learn from each other, and none of us is going through anything that is different to one another. So it's really about encouraging and lifting each other up. So we'll be covering becoming indispensable during and beyond the COVID-19. And at that point, I'd like to give a very, very quick story from my own experience. Now, a company I work for, when coronavirus started, what happened was everybody had to work from home, because in the place I work, it's some people work in the warehouse, some people work in the office. For those that work in the office, they had to work from home. So they said, everybody take your laptop home, and if you don't have a laptop at home, we'll send a laptop to you. Make sure you have internet. You need to be working within 24, 48 hours. And there was this man who was unable to work. Now, he was unable to work, and when we asked him why, he said, oh, I don't have a laptop. Why don't you have a laptop? A personal laptop? He said, oh, he gave some story. But that's fine, because we understand that laptop is an expense and not everybody can afford a laptop. So that's fine. So when we now said, okay, we'll provide you a laptop, we now asked, do you have internet? He said, no, he doesn't have internet. okay, this is interesting because most people have internet, but we thought, okay, maybe it's expensive. And then we said, okay, do you even have a phone you can use to get email? And then he said he has a phone, but the phone he has, and I'll see if I can find the picture of the phone, is this phone. He said this is the phone he uses. Now, in this day and age, now, depending on the job you do, that's fine. But this is a technology company. So for you to now say that this is the kind of phone you use, and what he said was that he doesn't believe in the internet does all kind of bad things. And all of a sudden, people that were the senior executives in the company started asking the question, is this a man that we want to be working for us? A man that doesn't understand technology, the benefit of technology. And what I'm trying to get at here now is the simple story is that we have to adapt to the times. We have to be flexible. We have to be ready to move with the times. So and so that kind of man, if I think about it, if I ask, is he making himself indispensable during COVID-19? I will say no, because he's not ready to move with the times. Beyond when technology is taking over everything, where people, even us as a church, we've had to adapt, and we're having our church service virtually. And we started to move to a point where our worship is really good. And even though it's not the same as being together, our Sunday worship was really good. And we are finding a way to make it work and be an enjoyable service. So even if churches are even having to adapt that are built on that, how much more us as individuals who in our day life should be ready to work with technology? A person like that, in about 6 months, he may not be in the job he wants. He may have to go and get a job that doesn't involve technology. So when I say being indispensable, it's really around making sure that where your business, your customers, or your employer, or whatever it is you do, you are relevant. I use the example of church again. Us as a church and other churches, very quickly, we realized we didn't say no more service. We had to adapt. So it's really around having the right mindset. So what I want to share today is that sometimes we can get very disheartened when we see coronavirus, etc. You see all the headlines out there. They say the market is going back down. There will be job loss. There will be etc. There will be etc. There are bad, negative headlines everywhere. What I want to tell you is that yes, that may be so, but as we are Christians, we also know that the Lord says, trials and tribulations will come, but fear not, for I have overcome the world. You know, so we have to remain confident. We have to be of faith, and we have to be at peace to know that our God who looks after us will sustain us. Because, you know, I was listening to a sermon today, and they spoke a lot about our mindset as Christians always to be, my God is with me. If you remember your God is with you, it will change your approach to everything. So what I also want to hit at there is that I'm talking a lot about faith, but also faith without works is dead. But faith with works is life. Life means productivity. It means abundance. It means being fruitful. It means being excellent. And it means even in the dry season, being fruitful. So as people of faith, we have the benefit of having our God to look after us and protect us and watch over us and provide for us. But we also have a requirement to show that we put in the work to make sure that our faith has something to work with. If your faith doesn't have anything to work with, then how are you going to please God? But if we have our faith and we do the works, then life means excellence. And even in these tough times, us coming out on top by the grace of God. So what I want to come back to really is chaos. You see, there's a lot of confusion going on around us. But I always like to tell people that when there's chaos, it also means that there's an opportunity for all of us to radically transform our lives and move up a level. When things are shaky, things are confusing, that is a time, if you have a strategy, if you have a plan, you can take advantage of the confusion and transform your life and your career to the next level. So what I'm talking about at this point right now is I'm helping us get the right mindset we need to have so that in whatever job you do, this applies to whatever job you do. If you're on the front line, or you're on the back office, if you work in technology, if you work in public transport, whatever industry you work for, things may look confusing, things may look shaky, but this is a time for all of us to radically transform our lives and move up to a whole nother level, because it's the same for everyone. There is panic everywhere. and there is change everywhere. When there's change, there is opportunity. There's opportunity for you and for me. So the message I want to leave at this point is you have to be ready. You have to be ready. And by ready means you have to put in place the right steps, you have to have a plan, you have to have a goal, you have to have a desire of who and what you want to be by the time this coronavirus ends and where you will be. But more importantly, I also want us to fear not. We should not be afraid, because the point is that God has always commanded us that we should be fear. We should not have a spirit of fear or timidity, but a spirit of power and sound mind. So that means in this time, we should operate in power. We should move in confidence. And we should also move in sound mind. Sound mind to me just means your mind is clear and you're at peace, that you know God has your back. But it also means that you know God is with you, so that you are not resting on the things of this world. You are resting on God. Because let's be honest, nobody knows what's going to happen. The future we cannot see, and the way of a man is not himself. So for us, it's really about keying into God on a spiritual level. I'll come on to the practical, but on a spiritual level, it's really about keying into God and being keyed into the point where we know that whatever happens, we will do what we can in the physical, but we know that our trust is not in man. Our trust is in God. I always like to share this, like in this nice verse from Psalms, where it says, promotion does not come from the north or east or the west or south, but from the Lord our God. I think it's Proverbs. Somebody can help me if they have it. But I think the key message I always take from that is nobody can demote you without the Lord's permission, and nobody can promote you without the Lord's permission. So our lives are in God's hands. So for all of us, I want us to be at peace and to be confident and do the practical things and know that God will take care of the rest of us. So it's really about thinking strategically and owning your future. You see, what we cannot do is we cannot sit idly. We cannot sit idly and say, I'll just wait for everything to shake out. I'll wait for it to end and see where things happen. You have to start thinking, what do I want for my future and what will I do next? That is how you become indispensable. Indispensable, by the way, means how it can be that they cannot do without you. That when they are thinking of everybody, they think, oh, I cannot do, Tulu, I cannot do without him. Oh, Kayode, I cannot do without him. Kunle, I cannot do without him. Tutu, I cannot do without him. I need him in this company. That I need him. Or your customers are thinking, oh, I cannot do without that business, you know. I need to buy those people's products, so that products are the best. Whatever it costs, I still need it. Or the service that person offers is still the best. And you have to also think, so that's number one, think, what will you do next? Number two, do you know the right people for this? And I like to say this a lot, because if you are thinking of going into another industry, another business, another line of career, if you look around you and all the people around you, nobody is in that industry or in that career, you need to find new people at least, or you need to add new people. Because to be able to get where you want to go, you need to talk to people who are where you want to go. Or you have to be connected to those people so they can show you the path to take. Number three, do you know what this change means for you? Do you know what it needs you to do? And finally, how ready are you? You see, the only thing that is worse than uncertainty of tomorrow is having no plan and strategy for your life. After all, it is Christ himself that said, "Which of us wants to build a tower and does not count the cost?" To count the cost means to have a plan. To count the cost means to have a strategy. And if you have a strategy and an idea for your career, for your business in these times, that means you reduce the level of risk. I mean, if you're a business now, you should be thinking of finances. How do you look after your cash flow so that your business remains relevant? Or else, because if you don't look after your cash flow, anything can happen in the future and your business goes out of business. But you also need to be thinking that if you have a strategy, it gives you influence, because people will look to you because you know what you are doing. Your customers, your business, everyone will look at you and say, you look like you know what you are doing. And when you do that, you have influence. Our short-range plan, or having a short plan that just means, let me just survive. Let me just survive. It's okay for a while, but don't make the mistake of thinking that is your long-term plan. It's not a strategy. And a lot of us are doing that. We are thinking, I will just see how this plays out. No, we should be praying and we should be planning. We should be planning to develop ourselves, planning to improve ourselves, planning to know where we want to go to next. And with that said, I then want to move to the next slide, really, where I'm going to talk about some of the things we need to start thinking about. And I'll expand and I'll now take some, and I'll look at the chart and we can all contribute and share with each other. Number one, we have to become problem solvers at our work. It doesn't matter where you work, whatever industry. If you're in the frontline industry, you just need to look at the news to see that there are all sorts of challenges there. We cannot take the mindset of waiting for things to happen. We have to show ourselves as problem solvers. And when you show yourself as problem solvers, that means being the first one to raise his hand up to help them solve problems, because they will notice you. If they notice that in the tough times, you are the one that came up with ideas to solve problems, you are the one that wasn't afraid to put yourself forward, they will remember you. And when things are better and when things calm down, you will be rewarded. Even now, you might be rewarded. So number one for all of us, I want us to become problem solvers. And that just doesn't mean in your work. It also could actually mean as a church, anywhere you are in the church, wherever we are involved, we have to become problem solvers, because the world of the future is going to be about problem solvers. There is technology everywhere that is doing things, but there are still some things that you need people to solve. So in your work or wherever you are, become a problem solver. I like to call it problem hunter, problem solver. Sometimes there's no problem around you. Go and look for the problem and help them solve it. That is how you do that. I'll give you an example. I'm working somewhere and I realized that they were starting to let go of people. I started looking for problems everywhere to solve. And by the time it was time to let some people leave, to retrench them or make them redundant or sack them, what I had done was that my name was on so many things I was doing that when they looked at me, they said, this guy is doing so much that he must be so cheap. So we need him because he's all over the place doing so much work. If we let him go, who will do the work? And that's the same thing we can do to make ourselves indispensable. Take on as much work as you can and show them that you are willing to work and be flexible and adaptable. It's not a time to say, oh, that's not what I do. I don't do that. I don't do this. You have to have a can-do attitude. Number two is leadership, which is linked to problem solving as well. This is not a time to fall at the back and be someone that just keeps quiet. Because if you fall to the back, when they start looking at people that are indispensable, because nobody knows what you do, you don't show leadership, they will automatically think you are not doing anything. And you may be doing something important. So I would encourage all of us to start to show self-leadership and leadership. Leadership doesn't mean you are the boss. It just means you show initiative. It shows you are proactive. It shows you don't wait for people to come to you. I will go through this very quickly because I do want us to share ideas and talk about this together. Decision making as well. Things are moving so fast that decision making is important. And while sometimes you need the seniors or the leaders in the organization to help you make the decisions, we also have to show that we can think for ourselves in whatever you do, whatever industry, whichever company, it doesn't matter what you do. This is not about the artisan or the artist. This isn't about people who own their own business or people who own their own shops or people who work in the office or people who work in the retail industry, who work in the health industry. Everyone everywhere is being met with this. You should start thinking about how to make better decisions and not wait for somebody to come and tell you what to do. I'm not saying you should break the process or break the policy. Please never do that. But there are some times where all it needs is for you to just put two and two together and be proactive. Or sometimes it just means going to look for the person that will make the decision for you. Instead of waiting till that person comes to you and says, why haven't you done this? You proactively go out. The next one is communication. We need to get better at communicating. So much more is being done virtually by email or by webinar like this or by Skype that we have to get better and more confident and saying what we want to say. There's something I've started saying to people which sounds funny, but I always say it's a good way to communicate. And it's say what you are going to say say it, and then say what you said. And I'll say that again. Say what you are going to say. So you tell them what you're going to say, then you tell them what you have said, then you tell them, and then you say what you have said, which is that you remind them, so that by the time you say it 3 times, they won't forget. So we have to become better at communicating. And when I say communicating, it means understand people you are talking to and make sure they understand what you say. People don't have time anymore because it's on Skype, it's on Zoom. If they don't like what you're saying, just like some of you may not like how I'm doing this, you can just start browsing the internet, or you can start doing something else and not listen to me and just mark register by being on the call. So we all have to be better at communicating and be clear and communicate your point. And then finally, we have to be innovative. Innovative means just start thinking outside the box. Help your customers, help your business, help the people you work with, help them just think about ideas to solve problems. A lot of us like to think innovation means technology. It doesn't always mean that. It just means thinking of different ways to do things cheaper, faster, and quicker. And let me tell you something. The one thing I want to say about innovation and problem solving, things are so chaotic right now that nobody knows what they are doing. So if you try something and it doesn't work, people even look at you and say, at least you tried. Rather than sitting there and saying, I can't think of anything. You try it. If it doesn't work, you stop, you find a new way to do it. So be bold and try to do these things. And then finally, digital skills. I do want all of us. I mean, look at all of us. And I can personally speak for I can speak for everyone I know, even my grandparents, my parents, all of them now are really using all of this kind of technology to communicate. So it doesn't matter what age you are, you need to learn how to use digital a lot better. You have to just try, and if you don't know, ask. These days, just ask someone or go on the YouTube. There's someone to show you how to use technology in the simplest way that can just make things better for everyone. And finally, influence. Just start to help people. Influence, sometimes people think it means being a boss. No, it just means people wanting to hear what you have to say and doing what you say. And the trick to influence is really listening. When you win someone's heart, you win their heart by listening to them. When you win their heart, they will trust you, and then they will allow you to shape their mind. They will allow you to influence them. So those are some of the things, practical things. And I hope people are here taking notes so that they can share some ideas or thoughts. So if any of this is relevant, that they found that worked. And if your industry, maybe to use your industry as an example to encourage the rest of us here. And finally, so these are some of it here. And I think one I didn't mention is learn to work across different generations. What this technology has done, it has made everything so flat. It has removed a lot of the hierarchy in organizations, because even some of the really, really young people, I mean, my son now, he's 10, but the way he works on Google, even I, who like to fancy myself as a bit of technology person, when I see the way he moves between screens, you know, they like to call these people, they call them digital natives. They call them natives because they were born into technology. A lot of us are what you call digital migrants. We were born before all this technology. We were born at the time of going to our grandparents' house and using that ring phone, and they'll padlock the telephone, or my grandfather's national TV. And if you want to telephone someone, you have to have a diary in your pocket. A lot of us are migrants. We were born in that time, and we learned to use this technology. For a lot of the younger generation, they were born into this technology, so it is like second nature to them. And we cannot afford to act like we are older than them or we are better than them or whatever. We have to work across different generations, communicate and work with them, because that is how it is, or else we will get left behind. That's for some of us of a different generation. So we really have to learn how to do these things. And I want to wrap up by saying you are responsible for your own future and your own career. You do the work. And remember what you are responsible for: planning your future, for developing yourself, for attaining these skills. And then don't forget, it's about the faith. That is what differentiates us as Christians. Ultimately, it's about the God factor in our lives. Because a lot of people will do these things I've said in the secular world. They will do it. It is our own faith that gives us the peace. And that is our own X factor. That means that we are victorious and we remain indispensable during and beyond beyond the coronavirus. At this point, I think I would like to take questions, and also I would also like us to just, because this is something we all go through our daily lives, I would quite like us to get into an active conversation. So I will bring up the chat box, and Doctor, if there's anyone you want to that is raising their hand, I quite like to hear. And yes, and Sister Liz, you're right. Faith works when you work the faith. Indeed, promotion comes from God. 75, Psalm 75:67. So promotion comes from God, and that means nobody, no man can promote you. They are just a tool. So your job is to do your work and then commit it to God, and God is responsible for promoting you. Fantastic. Do you have any? We've got 15 minutes, so this is a good time. Everybody, I'm quite happy to let's share stuff with each other. Does anybody want to come on? Or anyone want to say something?
Is it okay to unmute if you want to say something?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, you can unmute. Yes, unmute, and yeah, you can unmute yourself. But if someone else is already talking, please just if you don't mind waiting for them, please, and just pause until they finish. I would like that's what we do virtually. That's the other thing virtually is just be patient, wait your turn, and then we so that we don't all talk over each other. So if you want to unmute yourself and say something, please go ahead.
Okay, because I just raised my hand, so maybe it's another thing you can.
Oh yeah, so you can go ahead and say something.
Your hand raised, and you call them. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I was just going to share on this platform. Thank you, Brother Femi, for taking this on. It's very insightful. But then I think when you were talking about the migrant generation, those who are born into it, I think for everyone across the board, it's important to remember that learning is continuous. Learning is every day, and you should never be ashamed to learn. You should never be ashamed to learn. What you don't know, someone else knows. So all you have to do is ask. So we should be open to information. We should be open to possibilities. And everybody can be transformed. Everybody. It's so amazing how life has just changed. In the last 8 weeks, the whole world as we know it just changed right before our very eyes. So why not us? We're trusting God that we're going to be here for a long time. So if we have that in view, then that means a lot has to happen faster than COVID has caught up on us with ourselves, internally, even spiritually, even work-wise. How are we going to transform ourselves? Don't keep to yourself. Learn. Find out who knows what I want to do better than I know it. Who can I go to? Information is everywhere, but not everyone knows how to access information. So find out, reach out to people, ask questions. What you don't know, someone else knows. That's just my 2 cents.
That's a very powerful point. That it's a life journey. We have to become lifelong learners, and we have to be we have to be humble enough. Thank you so much, Sister Liz. We have to be humble enough to ask. There is nothing wrong. Now is the time to, and you know what? It's now obvious now that a lot of us, not many of us, I mean, there's Zoom calls everywhere. It's now is a good time to just dip into some of these calls and dip into all of these things. There's so much resource available. So we have to become lifelong learners, because this world is going to be less about what you know. It's going to be your ability to find information that's going to make the difference, because there's too much information and you can't hold everything in your head. So it's really about the ability to learn quickly and apply those skills very quickly. So fabulous. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Femi. Please, can I chip in something?
Yes, you can go. Yeah.
This is Tolabudi here. Thanks for the session. I think it's a really good one that is needed in time, in due season. Something I just would like to share with us all is we need to understand that this change has come, and the reality of things is the change has come to stay. If it's either permanent or at least it's come to stay for a very, very long time. The question we need to keep asking ourselves, and this is personal as well, is what am I doing to remain relevant? The primary word here is value and relevance. For as long as you're giving value, and in whatever field, i.e. your business, your personal life, even in your relationship, it is all about value. So provided we keep looking, if we have that word at the back of our mind, value and relevance, we pray that God continue to give us wisdom on how to adapt in time for now. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Tolu. That's a very powerful point. It's value and it's relevance. I don't think I can add too much to that. It's just the change has come to stay. I mean, what's interesting about the change as well is that the change was always coming. What coronavirus has done is it has basically put the change on steroids. The change has accelerated. So all of these things, they were there. Zoom was there. For those who knew Zoom, Zoom was there. Everything was there, but it was just something that some people used to use in their own time. But all of a sudden, look at the value of Zoom. They've had like almost 200 million subscribers, paid subscribers, I think, from nowhere, from Christmas, between Christmas and now. So all these things were there, but it has accelerated. So the change is here. And at worst, what will happen is when we stop, some people will try and, I don't know, I want to use the word shakara and force the change to go back. So they will try for a bit, but they realize they can't. And then you realize that it's here forever. So thank you to the change is here to stay. Value, relevance, value, relevance. How can I, relevance means they want you. Value, your money, you are value for money. So thank you so much. That was really powerful. Anyone? I'm sure there is, because we are all, I mean, what are you seeing in your workplaces? What have you seen worked? What challenges are you seeing? Questions, contributions? We all do some kind of work in the non-profit, profit. So we all have something to share. So we're all here to learn as well. So quite looking forward to people saying something. Does anybody have anything? Just unmute yourself and come on.
So mine is more like a question. I don't know if it's related to
Please go.
the topic today. So just like we've been saying, relevance is key in our workplace, even in our relationships. Again, I've also noticed that with COVID-19, a lot of opportunities it's there for people to latch on to. But one other thing I've noticed is the fact that for now, at least within this COVID-19 era, you can say companies or institutions are competing against themselves to give out free platforms to learn, to upskill yourself and do so much. And the challenge now comes with you knowing what to do with such loads of information or opportunities out there. So practically in all areas, even IBM, Intel, so many organizations, they're like opening their universities or their centers of excellence to people freely now. I think my question is, how do you utilize, or how do you tap into opportunities like this, especially when they are coming in so many forms and it's overwhelming in some cases?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, does anyone want to, I mean, I have my views, but I wonder if someone else wants to share as well, to pick that up. Okay. Okay, go on.
Sorry,
go
I
on.
was just going to say, yes, there seem to be quite a lot out there. And I guess what you have to ask yourself is that you need to tailor it to where you want to go. If you're in an industry that you think there's a risk and you will have to sort of move sideways or different thing, then tailor it to what, once you've researched and you've prayed about it and you know which industry or which area you want to move to and what your knowledge gap is, then tailor it like that. Because it's quite easy to join all of this. There's 1,001 things out there that you could end up just doing something that is not really enhancing you, but you're just doing it for the sake of being on it. Yeah, no knowledge is wasted knowledge, but you have to have tailored knowledge that would really put you in a position that makes you marketable after all of this is gone and done. That's what I would like to say.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I think that's I don't know if anyone has to add, but I think that's a powerful one. It's really around knowing where you want to go and having a clear idea of which industry you want to be. And you can do a SWOT analysis on your industry. When we say SWOT, it usually means strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. You can look at the strengths of your industry. You can look at the weaknesses or your company, even the weaknesses, to see if they're at risk. I know a company I work for, which is a publishing company. They were looking to move into digital books, but they were planning to do it in 2 years' time. And coronavirus came, and now book sales have gone off a cliff. Book sales, there are no book sales. Everything is online. So because their products are not online, they have revenues sales that they were hoping to make. They made only 20% of those sales, of their sales target in the last quarter. 20%. So they were expecting to make 6 million. They made only about 1.5 million. And that just means jobs have gone. People are taking pay cuts. So for your company or your industry, I think the Institute is right. It's around looking at the areas where your industry and seeing if it's at risk or not, and then finding out where you want to go, and then picking the right courses that match what you want to do. And someone has already said, having a strategy and follow that plan. You can get into the trap of doing everything, but really, as Deacon Esitu said, it's understanding your industry and your industry, your own job within your company and within your industry, and then looking to find courses that will take you where you want to be, and possibly even mentors that have done it before. One thing I will say is almost every industry is moving some form to automation and to the cloud. So whichever industry, if it's the medical industry, doctors are online, there's online doctors. If everything is online, teachers have to learn how to use technology. Everyone is learning how to, so it's either you learn how to use technology for the way you do your job now, or you learn how to help your business use technology to solve their problems. And then cloud computing, all those sorts of things if you're in technology. So, but ultimately it's around looking specifically at your industry and where you want to go or change industries, and finding a set of courses that will make you the person you want to be and attractive for that. So maybe a simple example is look for someone that is doing something, or look for a job spec of the kind of job specification of the kind of job you want to do, and look for courses that will satisfy all the requirements of that job specification, for example.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, Sister Liz and Deacon Institute.
Okay. Any others? Contributions, thoughts, questions, contributions? Okay. Oh, that's very good. So I think, yeah, I'm not going to take too much of your time. I think ultimately it's about continuing to be strong in our faith, and faith without works is dead. And trials and tribulations will come. So fear not, I've overcome the world. You know, my peace I give you, not the peace of the world. So ultimately our peace comes. We know that our peace cannot come from these things are things we are doing. These are our seeds. But ultimately, the Lord is the Lord that will cause it to grow fruit. So ultimately, and that is the thing, is the faith, but the works. The works is really around adding value, as someone has said, and being relevant, helping your business solve problems, being adaptable, communicating better, and just being someone that helps them solve problems, having digital skills. I would like to end this with someone I know who has it, who even in these times lost her job, a friend, and even a member of our church, a friend. She lost her job and she was concerned, she was worried, and in all of it, within a week of losing her job, she got another job that paid better. And when I heard that myself, I thought this is a fabulous testimony, because this just shows that God is still alive. He never was, there was nothing wrong. He never went anyway. But even in this time of people crying about job loss, of things going wrong, our God is still faithful. He's still on the throne, and he can still raise up kings, and he can still make a way where there seems to be no way. And she has a job now, and a job that pays better conditions, and everything is better for her. So that is the God we serve, and that is what he can do. So even for some of us that may even be in the lowest point where we've lost our jobs, God can still reward you even better in this time, because even when there's a casting down, there can be a lifting up. And sometimes these things happen so God can shake things up and reposition everyone. And why not us? So with that, I'd just like to say thank you, everyone, very much. Try to finish on time. Thank you very much for joining, for your contribution, value, relevance, promotion from God, and always continuing to be a lifelong learner, regardless of whichever age bracket you are, and just be a problem solver. Digital skills, communicate better, show self-leadership, be proactive, always volunteer to solve problems, and in all of it, continue to trust in God that He will secure you. And with that, I'd just like to say thank you, everyone. And may God look after us and protect all our workers in the, obviously, in the key workers, our key workers in our church that are in the front line. May He continue to watch over them and watch over us too. And I'm sure we'll meet again physically soon, by God's grace. So thank you, everyone, and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.